The
Mm-hmm.
affirmation is, I am safe now. And I think it does like two things. It tells me that I'm safe now, like you said, like you just explained,
Mm,
that I've created safety for myself. But
mm.
also, for me, what was so empowering about it is that it doesn't negate and it really does honor the fact that I wasn't safe then.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah, which is so important.
Yeah.
We need to honor that for ourselves, don't we? Sometimes it can be hard to come to terms with that. Yeah, I wasn't safe. I wasn't taken care of.
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't looking out for me. Yeah,
Yeah. Because I think that's what I meet a lot with people too is like, but I'm not, because they're still in the child self of not
that's
being
right.
safe. So if you
Mm.
say now, then it's like, I know you weren't then, like I
Yeah,
really get
that's
it.
right.
And I really
Mm.
see you that you weren't.
Mm. Yeah, both of us are going to cry in a minute, aren't we? It takes time to really understand what a witness is, the difference between like becoming the fear and letting yourself feel it at the same time as witnessing it.
Hmm.
It takes time, but we
And
can start
it's,
talking about it straight away.
do you think, I guess it takes almost like you have to have that person outside of you, that witness first, right? To
Absolutely. Yeah,
develop
yeah,
the
yeah.
witness, to develop that space. And so if
That's
someone
so
was,
true. Yeah,
that's what I meant.
yeah,
I meant,
that's
I
so
guess, as the
true.
witness is another person able to hold that for you because in the
Mm.
beginning you're going to be so in it.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah, well said. Yeah, that's very true. And as practitioners, we hold that space to start with. We are the witness. We are the grown up who's keeping everything, who can keep you safe. And gradually, you um, take that on yourself. Learn how to do it for yourself. We can't let ourselves lose the plot. So it's like we live in this tiny territory, and outside of it, it's all these kind of fenced off no-go zones that say danger. You can't go here. You can't go here. Don't give in. Do not go there. But really, if you go back to like the old stories, the old sort of fairy stories and um, journey odysseys and all of those sort of quests, they are the places where you find them.
You're about to watch an interview with me and Cindy Aulby. Cindy is a phenomenal titan of breath work and healing inner work in Hobart, Tasmania. She just retired a few years back, maybe just a couple years back. But before then, she had spent almost 3 decades supporting Hobart and its people in living and breathing consciously, healing consciously. And that has been her mission to help people come home to themselves through the breath. And she is going to explain her journey a little bit more in this interview, but I just want to honor her as a healer. She's also an artist, primarily of nature, and she is a writer, and she's about to come out with her very first book, which she talks about here in this interview as well. She has changed my life, and I know she has changed hundreds, if not thousands, of lives in Tasmania. So, without further ado, and with deep, deep love and gratitude, here's Cindy. Cindy, thank you so much for meeting me. And we're just going to have a conversation. You're my longtime teacher, and I love you so much. And I appreciate all of your um, wisdom and your time and energy that you've given to our community. And I just want to have a conversation with you about a little bit, of, if you're willing, your background and what drew you to this kind of work. But then I want to talk to you particularly around safety and this theme for one of my weeks for the podcast. if that sounds good.
Yeah. Sounds good to me. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for inviting me. Mm,
Mm.
mm.
Um, so tell me, I know a little bit, but it would be great to hear again what drew you into breath work and to at first, obviously, as a practitioner and or sorry, as a you know, a participant and then to a practitioner.
Yeah, well, I had a pretty mixed up start to life. And when I had children, I think was the turning point for me. Um, I noticed life, how my childhood and my sort of background was stopping me from being present with my kids. I was
Mm.
old enough by then to notice. I was in my early 30s when I had children. And I was old enough to have the yearning, I guess, to show up for them and also for myself and to be partnered with their father and like all of the difficult, chaotic um, world of having little kids and a relationship. And yeah, and I know I did so tried counselling, and I noticed that like I was counselling was great. It did sort of offer me an opportunity the capacity to reflect on myself and what I was doing and how I was in my world. But what I noticed is when I was talking in talking therapies that I was just telling the stuff that I already knew. There wasn't anything new happening or
Mm.
any sort of new information or new pathways being forged. So I'd keep, nothing was changing really. And I came upon breathwork sort of by accident, but what I noticed was that it took me out of what I already knew, and it took me into my body and into what my body knew. And it was a fast track, and it was quite frightening. Onto our theme for today, being
Yeah.
fear and being fear and safety. Well, it's the theme safety, but it's about fear, really, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so it really frightened me. But over time, I recognised that it would be the thing that would take me to the places that I wasn't getting to otherwise. And so, yes, bit by bit, I let myself go towards it. Took a while, but
Yeah.
I did.
I
Mm.
a couple of things you said there like I marked about is that I find that was one of the drivers for me of seeing seeing people, and sometimes I still can't be perfect, but people not being able to be present with their children. And then also talking to people about putting off this work and how much they missed with their children for
Mm.
not doing this work. So I think
That's right.
that's you hit it like on the head for the driver of doing it. It's like I'm not
Yeah, that's
truly
right.
present.
Yeah, and the kids were such immediate cause and effect indicator. When I could be present, they were happy.
Yeah.
They were so
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah.
And then when I wasn't and couldn't be present, they were so distressed. I had two children very close together, and both at once. They'd be distressed. It was like this immediate hello call of, "Oh, what's going on?" And I
Mm,
was yeah, I really noticed that my internal world, whether I was how far into that I was or out of it I was, or trying to distract myself from reality, the more
mm,
distressed they'd get. So immediate.
yeah.
Mm.
I remember talking to, I think I told you one of my aunts recently, and that was, it broke my heart to hear her say, like that was one of the biggest regrets of her life is not being present with her children,
Mm.
and they're
Mhm.
grown now, so she's lost that time, really. It's
Yeah,
because
you do.
she's
Yeah.
just now started to heal.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and I still have regrets that, my kids were way beyond babyhood. They were sort of five-ish, 4 or 5 when I started pulling myself together a bit more and learning about my being present.
And
Yeah, so I did miss out.
that's when you started the breath work, was when they were about 5?
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
On from there. That was the
Mhm.
sort of opening time. Yeah.
Something else you
Mm.
said in that first segment is, like, something around, I'm not gonna get it exactly right, but I knew that I wasn't gonna get through it, or I would have to go to the body, or can you speak a little bit about the separation between your body and your mind at that point? Because it sounded like you were saying, "I'm not gonna get through it here," you know, um,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
that I had to go down here.
And that was terrifying for me,
Yeah.
really. I think, and I guess what I've understood over the years, and I guess understood for me first, but it also helped being with other people, accompanying other people on their in their processes. Um, the body's where it hurts.
Mm,
You know, if you've had a traumatic youth and there's been sort of or childhood and there's been abuse um, or neglect or any of those sort of things that hurt children, parents who weren't present, those sort of things, the things that hurt us. The hurt isn't really in our thinking. I mean, our thinking's impacted by it, but the actual hurt is below the throat or below the
mm,
chin, because it's in the heart, it's in the gut, and the body stores it for us, as is sort of known and spoken about more in psychology now since Basil van der Kolk wrote "The Body Keeps the Score." Um, the body holds that information, and
mhm,
and so that's why so many of us want to be intellectual and we want to stay in our heads and we want to kind of operate like heads on sticks, because if the closer we go to the body, the more we meet fear, the more we meet our distress, the more we meet the sort of wounded children that we have been, who are kind of hanging out in there, putting up their hand every now and then and saying, "Hello, will you please look at me, hear me, see me?" And it's
mm.
terrifying. It was terrifying for me.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so then you started going to breath work for how long before you decided to become a practitioner?
I had a combination of breath work and also work in women's circles, and that was um, with a woman called Roshana, who from Victoria, who had a program called Women's Mysteries, and it was a 5-day women's circle where they didn't use breath work as such, but all sorts of processes and sort of shamanic style journeying, I suppose, just going to visit a wise one or the wise one, really, going internal journeying
Mhm,
and allowing whatever arose to arise and meeting it where it was. So there was a lot of encouragement to be embodied in that work. And I did that for the first number of years, as well as the odd kind of session in breath work that I didn't really know what it was. It was just like an instruction of lie down and breathe and do this. I didn't really understand now we're doing breath work. It was just another one of the things that we did. So it was probably another, I don't know, probably another 5 years or so before I really noticed that breath work was a modality that was actually working for me and could work for me. Yeah. So it was a combination of both, which gave me a unique perspective, I think, because I went from a kind of what grew to call body centered counseling. It's like really listening to your body and noticing what the feelings are in your body and talking to your body and, like becoming very tuned in to words and thoughts and like the connection between what you're doing and saying and thinking and what it feels like in the body. So
mhm,
that was the big difference in the women's circle work that I learned. And then breath work was directly going into the breath, breathing in a sort of circular way, so that like a very focused way and a very conscious way, which takes you into your body. But then I already had some of the skills to listen to what my body was doing, talking, saying, asking.
Right. Because that's often what
Mm,
we can meet with clients sometimes is the inability to actually know what the body's saying.
that's right. Because we spend so much time away from it, which is beautiful survival, isn't it, really? Like it's beautiful survival um, instinct.
Yeah.
You can't be in the trauma and be in the chaos and be in the hurt when you got to get on with life, or when there's a predator in your face, or um,
Mm,
you've got to put all that intensity aside, the emotional content and the physical
yeah.
distress, and just be available to get on with life. It's beautiful, but it's only ever meant to be a temporary fix, and eventually we do have to be whole. Eventually we have to get into the body and tend to the leftovers.
Wouldn't you say there probably are people
Mm.
that they don't ever?
Yeah, and I am so envious of them, Holly.
Uh,
No, to
but
have
they miss
been
out.
welcomed. Well, yes and no. Some people don't have to. Like people who've been really welcomed into the world, and they know
Mm,
they're safe and they know that they're loved. Um, they've got they've got a capacity to be in the body and not
yeah.
be so far away from it. And that, at a just a click of remembering will say, oh yeah, get into your body. It's good to be there, kind of thing. And they don't actually have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there
Yeah,
are
I guess. Yeah.
those of us who don't really have a choice. Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget about that half of the
That's
because
right. Oh,
because I just
we're so
work. I
blessed.
feel like yeah, my whole family or the people I work with are always the other half, so I forget.
Yeah, we got to do it. And I guess the concern is the people who really ought to be whole and to enjoy being alive and being themselves. It would really serve them well to learn how to be in their bodies, and they don't. And
Yeah, I think
it's
that's what a lot of the podcast is about is how to come back to our bodies and our hearts really
mm,
and bring our minds back to our bodies,
yeah,
which yeah, the integration of that physical and mental and spiritual.
yeah,
Um,
bring
so
us home.
you got into breath work though deeper at some point where you started to become a
Yeah,
practitioner.
I did. Yeah, I started to become a practitioner anyway. Like I was running women's circles. I just got, I held myself at it so deeply for so long. I just couldn't get enough of it once I started. I was very reactive and resistant to it, but I also couldn't get enough of it. So there was two parts of me. There was one part going, get away. Why would we do that? It's awful. It sucks. And the other part made me go and keep going and keep going and keep going. So that sort of, I've just written a book. I'm nearly finished this book called The Rat Bag and the Wise One. And it's about that. It's about this naughty part of me swearing. I won't do it now, but, um, and the wise one who's sort of trying to guide me from underneath or growing slowly as I grew. But yeah, I'm sorry, I've forgotten the question. Where were we just
No
there?
worries. I just now, it's the first time I've heard the title of your book. Is this the book you've been writing? Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And do we have a
Mm.
sense of when that's coming out or no?
No, no, I've just finished a big edit. So yeah,
Uh-huh.
just today, in fact, this very morning.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I love the title. I love the
Thank
title.
you. Oh, good. Yeah. And so, yeah, when I'd already started working as a practitioner, just guiding women's circles and doing the occasional one-on-one session with people who knew that I was a beginner and were quite happy with that. Um, then I realized then I needed more skills. I needed a bigger toolbox, and breathwork was the thing that eventually said me, come here, do this, because
Mm,
it suited the sort of work that was coming up and arising for people in the circle work and in the individual sessions. So
mhm.
yes, I did breathwork training that lasted a couple of years, and then I kept going and being the assistant for all the trainings after that, and eventually became a teacher. So it
Yeah.
was the same sort of thing. I just could not get enough of being in those spaces. Thousands of hours. Yeah.
How how many years did you do breath work as a as a practitioner, one-to-one and groups? How many years was that
Close
now?
to 30 years. Yeah.
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 I've just retired a year ago.
I
And I
was gonna
still do
ask,
it a
I
little
couldn't.
bit, as you know. Yeah. I still
Yeah.
do it a bit, as you know. Yeah.
How many clients would you guess you've seen in those decades?
Oh, that's just impossible. Hundreds, hundreds and hundreds.
Th Thousands,
Because I
maybe?
was full time, thousands. Yeah.
Yeah.
I worked pretty full time. Yeah.
Mm.
So
It
I could
reminds me
see
of, like, a
10 or 12
midwife.
clients a week.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
It reminds me of a midwife a little bit. I had a midwife for my first child that had 3 generations, you know? And so I'm sure you've seen,
Mm.
like, generations
I
within the
have.
community.
I really have. And it's such a blessing. It was so good. Like, yeah, people said, I've families and generations, like I'd see someone and they'd send their partner and their kid, their older kids and their parents and their siblings and best friends. And, it was all this sort of, the family therapist kind of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then the children. I don't think I've had any grandchildren. Not sure. I might have.
Yeah.
In about 3 generations, but certainly 2. Yeah.
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 Well, thank you.
Such a blessing.
Thank you for taking us down that journey. What I'm curious to now with safety, it's it's a weird word, and I think it has a lot of different connotations, and there's a few ways we could, talk about it today. One of the things I'm really interested in it currently is this, what would I call it? Contradiction or controversy maybe around, you know, safe spaces. So and what that means and when and why that might be appropriate, but then have we taken it in some ways too far? These kinds of conversations. And I'm curious where that word to start out with lands for you, like safety, safe spaces. Um, how you feel
Mm.
about that word.
Oh, multiple things.
Yeah.
Um, I guess the beginning of safe spaces and safety is that we do need safe space in order to open up and crack open in the various ways, however we need to do it. We need to be in a space that's going to support us to do that.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and there, like I would say that the elements of that are a certain amount of maturity of a therapist, basically, or a guide, someone who knows how to hold space and who can hold any big things that are going to come up and who are going to, like, particularly in groups, who might protect me or you or somebody from other people kind of interrupting their process or telling them what to do or advising them, those sort of things. So somebody who can hold a really strong space, whether it's an individual one or in a group. I think that's one of the most important elements. And also somebody who's been willing to journey those things for themselves, I think creates a safe space for therapists too. can go there for themselves.
In
Um,
that way, though, just to go to feed off of what you were
mm,
just saying, in a way, we're trying to create a safe space for unsafe things to come up, like you were talking about.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I was going next. Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes we think a safe space is to not feel scared.
Right.
And if you don't feel scared, for many of us, it means you're not going there. You're not doing your work. Like yeah, you're right. You have to learn to become comfortable with discomfort and to become able to go into the scary places in order to meet yourself. Because, if you, as we were talking before about the lucky ones who don't ever have to, you know, do any therapy or do any inner work, it's because they already know how to go there. They can be in their bodies. I like thinking of it as a castle with multiple, like hundreds of rooms, and the freedom to be like my body's the castle, and my mind and my me and my consciousness and my past, and for me to be able, like freedom for me is to be able to go in any one of those rooms and be happy, be okay there, to know what to do there, to know how to meet whatever's there. And, when I was only safe thinking and being out of myself, there was whole corridors and whole floors of rooms that were just no-go zones. And I had to, like, sometimes I went to those spaces under duress. Like I didn't want to go there. And breathwork, in a way, sometimes forced me to go there because it would take me into an altered state where my normal defenses were impacted, and it would
Mm.
almost force me to go there. Or sometimes a teacher might kind of really encourage or prod a bit to go there because I couldn't go there by myself. I'd had too many defenders and defenses and those sort of things, and it felt really unsafe. But I knew I was in a safe enough place to hold that feeling of fear. Is that
How
making
did you
sense?
know that? Yeah. How did you know you were in a safe place, even when you were feeling unsafe things?
Um, I trusted my teachers. I trusted my teachers and therapists.
It always comes down to like relationship, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, nobody's perfect, but I always knew that they had courage, that they had met themselves, and that they weren't frightened of fear. They weren't frightened of my fear, and that they could hold me in it. It didn't matter how scared I was. They could hold me on the ground safely. I mean, the truth of it is basically when we're doing this work, we are safe now. Most of us are in a world where we've created a safe world for ourselves. We're not in the childhood world. For me, it was a childhood world. For others, it might be a country of war and um, all sorts of horrific things going on. But once you're actually out of it and you're ready to do some of the healing work, you're not in that space anymore. So a lot of the
Mm.
work is to teach our bodies and our consciousness and our defenders and defense mechanisms that actually we live in a safe world now. We're grown up. We're not being bombed anymore. We're not being abused anymore. It's okay. Where we are here now is fine. We're safe here.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I'm going to talk about as a precursor to this conversation is
Mm,
you taught me. You taught me
mm,
the most freeing affirmation with safety, which is, and I think of affirmations really as an embodied thing, not just something I'm going to repeat
mm,
to myself again through the
mm,
rational mind, but something that I need to feel and breathe with, do the breath work with. But the
mm,
affirmation is, I am safe now. And I think it does like two things. It tells me that I'm safe now, like you said, like you just explained,
mm,
that I've created safety for myself. But
mm.
also, for me, what was so empowering about it is that it doesn't negate and it really does honor the fact that I wasn't safe then.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah, which is so important.
Yeah.
We need to honour that for ourselves, don't we? Sometimes it can be hard to come to terms with that. Yeah, I wasn't safe. I wasn't taken care of.
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't looking out for me. Yeah,
Yeah. Because I think that's what I meet a lot with people too is like, but I'm not, because they're still in the child self of not
that's
being
right.
safe. So if you
Mm,
say now, then it's like, I know you weren't then, like I
yeah,
really get
that's
it.
right.
And I really
Mm,
see you that you weren't.
yeah, both of us are going to cry in a minute, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes I find that like most of that sort of internal work is done with your eyes closed. Sometimes it's really useful to just open them for a minute and look around and
Mm,
see where you are, like see where you are now and see that there's a loving practitioner with you who really cares about you and is taking care of you, and that the people who've hurt you are not here,
mm,
and that, the sun, oh, well, here today the sun's shining, everything's looking pretty lovely, safe, quiet, beautiful. Mm.
yeah.
And then go back in again. Sometimes you need to sort of keep reminding yourself, as you say, now, where I am. Remind yourself of now.
Yeah. And it becomes almost like a titration, doesn't it? Of,
That's
okay,
right. Mm.
future, where I'm at now and where I was then. And that
Mm.
slowly, as you start to say the affirmation, but also feel it,
Mm.
the then is less present,
Mm.
the back then.
That's right. Or it's utterly present. So you're with the part of you who's kind of still there, the child part, say. Like for you and I,
Hmm.
it's the child part. For many others, it could be an adult in a war zone or something like that, or
Mm.
in an abusive or frightening event. Um, so to be in the world with that small person or the frightened one, the terrified one, who is actually still there in some ways, but to also be the observer,
Mm.
to also be the present tense me, adult me now, who's observing this. So the whole point of going towards trauma is kind of negated if we become that child.
Yeah.
If we can remember that what we're doing is that we're only going there to heal, not to become them, and that we're maintaining always and identifying with the observer.
Hmm.
Yeah, the present day me. That's so, so important.
Yeah.
Mm.
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 And so there's this quote that um, and I think we've already talked about it, but it kind of, the two sides of it is like, we need to create safe space. We ultimately want clients or people to feel safe. And yet, the other side of that is a lot of people have created safety, like you said, like they're safe, but then some of those ways that they've kept themselves safe is really detrimental too. And I think one of the
Mm.
quotes Anodea Judith has is give up being safe, because
That's right.
you've created this home
Mm.
that's actually hurting you.
That's right. Because it's not letting you be an adult for a start. And present, okay, takes us right back to the beginning of presence, is not being able to be fully present. Yeah, I felt like I was safe, but I still wasn't, you know. And by that I mean that any of those internal kind of defenders, if they for a moment lost their post, if you like, and didn't defend, then I was in danger of feeling a lot of distress, like just like that, or a lot of anger, or a lot of fear. Um, that was totally dependent on all my defenders being in. place.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. So the safety we create for ourselves is often not embodied.
Mm.
It's not present. And
What would
it's demanding that people around us don't say certain things or
I know.
don't press certain buttons, or like how many times have you come across people who get really angry with someone who's pressed their buttons? It's like they're your buttons.
Well, I think that gets into the controversy and why it's probably evolved even past what I know at this point, but because things evolve so quickly nowadays. But, um, you know, oftentimes the people here in the States on the left are trying to create safe spaces, almost to the point where it becomes almost like a SNL skit or something, where like you can't make everything so safe. And then the conservatives kind of fight back in that you're not challenging, people enough intellectually if you
Mm,
keep
mm.
making these spaces so safe that you can't push buttons, like you're saying.
That's right. And you can't challenge. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as
Particularly,
therapists and yeah, go on. Yep.
particularly, I think in social care and things like this, and particularly more so even maybe white women, I think, have
Mm,
developed this trope of trying to monitor safe spaces.
that's right. And one of the worst things you can say to someone is I'm not safe. Or it's
Mm,
an immediate shutdown. If what you're doing makes me feel unsafe, then that's not okay, and that's an
yeah.
immediate shutdown. Yeah, yeah, it is. It's quite frightening. Mm.
So how do you handle that? Because I know you've had some, challenging times with holding group spaces. How do you handle those moments when someone's like, you're not creating a safe space for me?
Mm. Well, I guess I would invite them to feel the fear.
Mm,
Oh, so it feels frightening. Yeah. What does the fear feel like? And tell me more about the fear, and
mhm,
try and get all of us, both of us, really, really curious about what is it that feels unsafe.
And I
Yeah,
think you've hit like the biggest thing. I think it starts becoming more dictator-like with some of our safety protocols versus I think one of the antidotes is maybe curiosity.
absolutely. Let's get curious about fear. Like we've got so few words for so many different things, haven't we? Like I'm thinking
Yeah.
about fear and
Yeah.
being like so. In a way, what we're talking about now is fear of being terrified of fear itself. So as
Mm,
soon as I feel scared, it's not okay.
yeah.
But when you think about like fear and what we call anxiety, if you like, we call it an anxiety disorder a lot of the times. But actually, what it is, it's fear in the body, and it's saying, "Hey, Holly, hey, Cindy, I'm not okay here. I'm not okay." So it is those sort of internal children saying, "Hey, please, I'm not okay. Hold me, look after me, listen to me, know me, see me."
Mm,
Yeah,
mm,
yeah. Curiosity is the key to it. You're right.
mm,
Yeah. So rather than arguing with that feeling of I don't feel safe, agree with it. I agree with it. Yeah, I see that. You're not feeling safe. Tell me more. Yeah.
mhm, mhm.
Mm.
And I think the other, like when you're in a group dynamic too, there's more maybe pressure or there's more because other people are in the group, right? There seems
Mm.
to be and then I felt it both in groups and I felt it in one-on-one. It's like we've already said it, but there's this sense of a blame if someone is unsafe at any point.
Hmm. Then
And the
it's your
blame
fault.
on, yeah,
Yeah.
maybe the practitioner or the group holder, and then maybe that's why a lot of facilitators are getting so um, involved with keeping the safe space is because
Mm.
there's this blame or pushback, and you become the authority,
Mm.
right? You
That's
become,
right. You become the person who hurt them in the first place.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, why would
Mm.
you do it? Why do we do it?
Well, why do you do it?
Yeah. Oh, because it's such a glorious thing to be able to turn that into curiosity.
Mm,
It's what we do all the time, like that projection, isn't it?
mhm,
In relationships with each other. I feel scared, so therefore you're terrifying
mm,
or you're behaving badly. You shouldn't make me feel scared. Actually, it might be nothing to do with what they did. They've just reminded your body of a feeling that you had or a time that you weren't safe. Mm.
and I think it gets really complicated, but also you can use the same tactics when it becomes groups and cultural fears and cultural if it's I think it's interesting when it becomes dynamic in that way. We both of our countries have kind of oppressive and still do oppressive um, governments and
Mm.
systems, and to give an outlet for that and honor it and be curious about it. Well, I guess I feel like, how do I honor that, be curious about it without taking it on personally as a practitioner?
Mm.
That makes sense.
Not quite. Tell me more. Like you sort of going out into the big picture of cultural safety
Well, because I think
and
that this is a this is kind of the where the conversation I was leading it to in a way is that we've kind of gone into two different camps of like we can't be safe, we need to challenge ourselves versus I'm going to try to create as much safety as I can in every single group.
mm,
And I think that came out of the social rights movement a big time of both for the LGBTQ movement plus, as well as with Black Panthers and things like that. How do we create a safe place for these people that have been marginalized and put in unsafe places for so long in my culture? And I'm sure there
yeah,
was that movement in the Australian culture as well.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
And so when I think about how do I hold a safe space, own some of my, culture's contribution to that, meaning how I
Mm,
represent white, I represent straight, even though, I feel like I have a queer community and I identify as queer, but I wouldn't present that way, you know?
mm,
Um,
mm,
how do I honor? Sometimes that blame can be pushed on to a facilitator that holds those markers, right?
absolutely. Yeah, that's right. Mm,
So how do
yeah.
I help create a safe space, challenge, but also, is it my place? I guess is what I'm kind of trying to get at.
Mm, gosh, big questions. Yeah. And again, we can only turn curiosity towards it, can't we? Like to really honor that people have been marginalized and say it out loud and recognize it out loud and acknowledge it out loud and apologize out loud.
Mm, I think
Yeah.
that's key. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
And also at the same time hold a space for them where they can go towards that anger and fear in their bodies and let it move through them. Because that's the like the purpose of everything that we're talking about, isn't it? When we say really you've got to go there. What happens when you go there
Mm,
is the next step. Like going there isn't the end of this isn't the end of it, is it? It's like the reason we go there is to actually let some of that pent up energy, the held energy, the squashed down feelings and experiences and emotional um, catharsis, being an old familiar word, like to let that resolve itself, because otherwise it's still held in the body.
right.
And it creates little tight, dense places that life can't move through. Yeah. So that's the next bit, is like even somebody who has been marginalized, um, and will be again in our culture, because we're still not there yet. They've got surely a lot of feelings about that I've held on to, and trying to be reasonable about it. There's got to be spaces where we can let that rip really safely.
Yeah. And I think that's the purpose of those safe spaces, is for people to be able to express, particularly during that time, although, people could argue it's happening again, but and without punitive damage, right?
Mm, mm,
Mm.
mm.
Um, so what would you say to someone? I may have one more question, and then I have something else too. But what would you say to, how would someone start? How would someone start feeling safe enough to not be safe? What would your suggestion to be?
Wow. I think the way I've managed it as a practitioner is to not expect them to let themselves be unsafe in the first session,
Mm,
but to invite them and to hold them strongly enough, like care about them strongly enough, just um, to invite some kind of internal curiosity. And like when people are unsafe, generally they'll open their eyes and they'll be alarmed, and to be able to just hold that really gently and ask
mm,
them to tell me about it, be curious about it, what happened. Um, I don't know. I just think it's a very slow, organic process, and because it's so unusual to be able to be really real with somebody. Like our whole defense systems have built up around don't ever show them how much it hurts or how messed up you are inside or any of that. To be able to really be fully human and let all that stuff just be as it is with somebody else does take time.
mm,
Yeah. So it's about trusting myself with anything that can come up, and
mm.
genuinely caring that people find their way to it.
Do you feel like it requires then, though, for that relationship to start, a relationship with someone that would allow them or hold that space for them?
Do I think safety's a beginning?
Do you
Do you
think
mean?
for someone that's like interested in going into unsafe spaces that they maybe have been too fearful to go into till now, would it take,
Mm,
does it take the witness, I guess, is what I'm kind of asking.
mm. Yeah, I think that's a really important, a really important clarification for people. Perhaps is teaching. I had to learn to do it. It's not something that happened immediately or that I even understood. I had no clue about not being embodied or even holding, unresolved business in my body. None of it. I just knew I didn't feel okay. I
Mhm.
just knew I was not I was sad or messy, or I don't know, smoking too much or avoiding myself too much, those sort of things. Um, it takes time to really understand what a witness is, the difference between like becoming the fear and letting yourself feel it at the same time as witnessing it.
Mhm.
It takes time, but we
And
can start
it's
talking about it straight away.
do you think I think it I guess it takes almost like you have to have that person outside of you, that witness first, right? To
Absolutely. Yeah,
develop
yeah,
the
yeah.
witness, to develop that space. And so if
That's
someone
so
was
true. Yeah,
that's what I meant
yeah,
I
that's so
guess, as the
true.
witness, is another person able to hold that for you because in the
Mm,
beginning you're gonna be so in it.
that's right. Absolutely. Yeah, well said. Yeah, that's very true. And as practitioners, we hold that space to start with. We are the witness. We are the grown up who's keeping everything, who can who can keep you safe. And gradually, you um, take that on yourself. Learn how to do it for yourself. Mm,
Mhm.
yeah.
Anything last thing you wanna say or express around this theme or anything we've talked about, Cindy?
Um, I guess like just as a rounding, we've probably said it all, but it's like our cultures. You've been talking about the big cultural thing and the sort of incredible walls we put around things in order to be safe. It's like it's like all of these bits have fallen off the map of being human. Like
Mm,
we can't be depressed. We can't be anxious. It's an illness. We can't let ourselves go mad. We can't let ourselves lose the plot. So it's like we live in this tiny territory, and outside of it, it's all these kind of fenced off no-go zones that say danger. You can't go here. You can't go here. Don't give in. Do not go there. But really, if you go back to like the old stories, the old sort of um, fairy stories and um, journey odysseys and all of those sort of quests, they are the places where you find them. You have
mm,
to go into the deep, dark forests and the kind of dried out deserts and the scary, like a Baba Yaga's in the bottom of a scary river, isn't she? Like all of the all of the myths and fairy tales and stories, you have to go in to the deep, dark forest and you have to be scared and you have to lose all of your favorite tools, and that's where you find the treasure.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Mm. Well,
So it's
thank you
like
for rounding it out so
rebuilding
well.
maps. Like, yeah,
Mm.
have to rebuild the maps. Mm.
Really well put. Thank you. I want to ask you some quick questions. I'm going to do with all my guests, and it's like
Mm.
a rapid question asking, and
Okay.
you don't have to explain your answers at all. Um, have you ever
Yep.
seen the Actors Studio by chance?
No.
No, it's a old. It's not even on anymore, I don't think, but it's an old interview with actors. But he would have the same questions at the end, and they were very short, answers. So you don't need to
Yeah.
explain them. I'm just gonna ask
Okay.
this to each one of my guests, and what, and they can be one word or a sentence, but shorter answers. And the first one is, what makes your spirit expanded, or what makes you feel expansive?
Falling in love
Ah. What makes
with
your spirit
everything.
what makes your spirit contracted, or your yourself contracted?
Being scared. Being scared.
What emotion has been your greatest teacher?
Fear.
What do
And
you
rage.
yeah, yeah. What do you collect that says the most about you?
Tea, two things: teapots and heart-shaped rocks.
Ah. Um, what do you wish you could learn that you haven't yet? What do you wish you could learn?
Fiction writing.
Uh, and what do you wish you could unlearn?
Um, oh, I don't know. I've done so much unlearning. I'm
Yeah.
heading very fast towards 70 now, and I've spent like at least the last 40, 50 years unlearning. I think
All
yeah.
set.
Right now, I wish I could unlearn that I don't know how to write fiction.
I was gonna
I
say
can
you're
write
writing a book.
non-fiction, but it's non-fiction. Yeah. I want to write stories more.
What is the top of
Hmm.
your bucket list for places or events or achievements?
Um, Painting. I'm learning to paint.
Ah,
Hmm.
all right. Just two more.
They're my
If
big journeys into the world is portrait painting at the moment. Flesh tones.
because you've done a lot of black and white.
I have done a lot of black and white, yeah. Hmm.
If you consciously met your soul before birth, what would it whisper to you before entering?
Whoa. Hmm. This isn't a fast answer, is it? I'm
It's
very
okay.
poor. It's gonna, it's going to be a very rocky one, this life. It's going to be really rocky, and it's really going to be worth it.
Mm,
Hmm.
mm. And last one, what would from your 10-year from now self, your future self, thank you for 10 years from now?
Going to the gym,
Good.
doing the doing the oldies exercise class at the gym.
I can't thank you enough, Cindy, for being you're my first guest that I've interviewed. I can't
Oh,
thank you
really?
so much.
Oh,
And
it's a pleasure, Holly.
I'm learning so
You're a
much
good
and I appreciate you.
interviewer. You're a good questioner. Your questions were really great. It's good conversation. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.